right now. Okay, the stream should be on. And
I'll check.
I'm in the game right now. Reveal hands, please. Alright. So, is the stream on?
Right now.
Okay, that's cool. So I am hiding the chat here. Let me also... Okay, so it's not showing my hat. That's good. So let's talk a bit about the matchup, shall we?
I'm pretty sure he played it during the Swiss, and Spirits did actually win the matchup. The matchup
Okay.
where Red would be favored.
Yeah, that would also be my guess. Looking at not only the Spirits versus Burn matchup in Modern, but also just the deck list. It seems to me that the Atarka list would just be too fast.
This was a really nice hand from Donnie's side.
Yeah, and I mean, C Squared has the mulligan, of course, and I think he has a really good hand here as well.
Nice.
He's got 2 burn spells, one of which is a Atarka's Command, a Smuggler's Copter, and a Monastery Swifter, so this should be a pretty good hand.
He has no access to green at the moment, but that shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Okay, so the Storm Tamer is probably going to be really good, countering a burn spell or something. That's going to be directed at his face at some point, or just eating 2 damage from the Wild Slash could also be.
Kind of, for Donnie at least, it can't counter the Atarka's command because it doesn't actually target. But yeah, it can eat a lightning strike. It can eat a lightning strike or similar.
So Swifter's coming down, Inspector going down to 19. Alright, so the question here is, do you play the Smuggler's Copter or do you hold up the Rattle Chains? And I think that this is a matchup where you do want the Smuggler's Copter on turn 2.
Yeah, I think we see the Copter here.
And then he's got a Spell Queller for the turn after, which is probably gonna line up pretty well with C Squared's hand as of now. I'm guessing that C Squared
we'll see if C Squared wants to run out the Copter or the fodder first.
My guess would be the Copter, and in that case the Queller is going to be pretty good countering the Dragon Fodder. Become Immense is not a good draw here.
No green right now, and it's also just not what it's not doing anything right now.
So
it's best of 5, right?
Yeah, it is best of 5. So I think if you're C Squared, you first attack with the Swift Spear. Do you?
Yeah, probably.
I mean, I'm not sure if you're okay trading 2 for 1 with the Smuggler's Copter. I don't. Now I think about it, that's not a good thing. So Copter's getting launched here. He's actually
Donnie's fine just trading Copters.
He's firing up the Copter here. He hit his 3rd Collected Company.
The company's going to hit the bin. He's not at 4 mana, and they're less good when they stack up.
This is quite an aggressive move, I think, by Inspector. I'm not sure how much I like it, to be honest.
I mean, with the Queller, he's pretty far ahead on tempo, so he's okay trading Copters and then Quellering the next play.
Yeah, that's true, of course. But I'm also thinking that, looking at the hand that consists of 2 Collected Companies, you just want as much time as possible, because I think that if you get to resolve both of these companies, you probably win.
True.
So C Squared is thinking right now on if he wants to trade off the Copters. And I don't quite see a reason why he would want to trade that off.
Much faster. So I think trading racing speed and just giving Donnie more tempo is not where he wants to be.
No,
he's at his full life total right now, and so that's not a concern.
Yeah, so he is indeed taking the damage. I mean, he's still thinking every decision through, of course. which is what
Should.
we expect from our players. Another mountain.
Right. A draw. You would have preferred a Cinderglade, but it's not terrible to be able to turn off the burn spell and the fodder.
Mm-hmm. So the Dragon Fodder is gonna be eaten by Spell Queller here.
He'll probably fetch for a Canopy Vista.
Mm-hmm.
To be
Looking at the collected companies he has in hand, yes.
Right.
So
there it is. And he does not have a removal spell that can deal with that right now, so that's not good.
Being on the play here was huge for the Thraben Inspector.
Absolutely, especially in Queller decks, that's massive.
Yeah. If he was on the draw, this
Yeah,
Dragon
really.
Fodder would have resolved, and he would have been in a world of trouble.
Nicely. Great 1-drop, great 2-drop, great 3-drop. That's another. It's an okay draw. It's just a burn spell. Put more pressure on his.
Discarding to become immense. That makes a lot of sense. I actually
choice.
think it's slightly inaccurate to play the land before attacking with the Smuggler's Copter.
Agree with that, but it's a very small percentage of the time that you want to be discarding your third land there.
The thinking is that if he hits a green source, that's much better, and then you do want to discard the third land. Ooh, another Queller, and he has a Rattle Chains. This is not looking good for C-Squared right now.
He's not even going to attack. That's interesting.
I understand that decision. You just... So C-Squared is never going to trade off the Copters, and I think that's something that you are actively looking for. And if you have the choice between losing 3 life for both players, or staying at the same life total, I think that's a pretty clear decision.
He's firing up the copter here. I'm saying it probably won't come up, but in terms of that Firecraft, the Queller actually can eat the Firecraft because it's not technically countering it.
Here's a question for you. If after this, I'm guessing that they are going to trade the Smuggler's Copter. C-Squared actually hit his green mana here, which is pretty good. So what I was going to say, if he's going to fire up the Exquisite Firecraft on the Spell Queller, do you Rattle Chains or do you Spell Queller?
Actually, I think you Rattle Chains because you don't want 2 removal spells to... You don't want 1 removal spell to be absolutely just crushing.
I think I agree with that.
1 removal spell sets off an entire chain reaction that would just put C-Squared way ahead.
And I think that Thraben Inspector should be in a very comfortable position here. What's that? Oh, the Lifelink Dwarf. I think that's gonna hit the bin here. He's gonna... So
when you're on 2 lands, and he has 2 white source, and the lifelink is good against Atarka.
Yeah, but I don't think you ever want to let your shields down right now. Like, I think that for at least the next few turns, he's actually gonna pause the turn here, which I like. Because now he gets to overload there's the 4th land, which Anders tapped, sadly. So now he can overload the counterspells that Thraben Inspector has available by firing off the Stoke the Flames and Step, which I presume we're gonna see.
Correct.
And if he Spell Quellers to Stoke the Flames, he is in a world of trouble because the chain reaction... Wait, where did the Exquisite Firecraft go?
No more removal spell.
He only has 1. I did not notice he had discarded the Firecraft.
He discarded it. So now there's... I mean, obviously he can top deck it, but it's less likely that that chain reaction is going to happen.
So that's a Smuggler's Copter. And that will eat up a Spell Queller. Could I please not be pinged in Discord?
Think he wants to fire off the Atarka's command or wait till it might have potentially more value?
So the Atarka's command here represents what? 3, 4, 5 damage? Okay, Inspector is just gonna take it. Heralds. How did that read again? Okay, so I think that this game is very close to over.
I think that's definitely right.
There's the Exquisite Firecraft. So in comes Whisper. That's all fine.
Reflector Mage, by the way.
From the looking to hit that, I don't have the deck list up actually. He's not gonna fire off anything end of turn. I guess.
Want to just shoot off the company end of turn and like compound the advantage he has on board right now?
Yeah, I think that might have been the correct play because you're getting into dangerous territory now. The Atarka's command alone represents what? 1, 2, so 5 damage plus another one from the sister, so that's 6 already.
Right,
so if he
Donnie's just dead to the burn spell in the hand.
Yeah, so if C squared draws his, he's just dead actually.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Inspector should be dead here. So it looks like my co-host is gone. So we're at the end of Inspector's turn here, I think. No, okay, damage has not been dealt here, but if you look at the board right now, Thraben Inspector is basically dead on board. There's 4 from the Stoke the Flames, so that will put him down to 7. And then hold on, he would still need to top deck a land. So end of turn, I presume he's gonna Stoke the Flames Thraben Inspector's face. Although there's an argument to actually hold on. I think no, okay, because of the rattle chance, of course. He doesn't know about that, but that's a card that he knows is in his deck.
Sorry about that, I had to step out for a second. Did I miss anything?
Stoke the Flames got fired off at Inspector's face. And this Atarka's command does definitely represent lethal damage here. Although it does not be. Yeah, I was just wondering. Thraben Inspector just took 6 damage from the Stoke the Flames, which is interesting. Yeah. So he would have really liked to have drawn a land because that would have probably killed Inspector. And
no, land would have definitely killed Inspector because he could just fire off burn spells at face,
yeah,
and he doesn't.
That's 7 in total, and right now he's 1 off, and he is. I mean, he does not know that, but he is facing lethal with the rattle chains in hand for Inspector. And I like the decision that he's making here, although.
Fired off the rattle chains at end of turn to force C squared to use a removal spell on one of the creatures.
Yeah, which he couldn't because the Exquisite Firecraft is a sorcery and the Atarka's command can't hit creatures. But this is a lethal attack anyway, so I think we're done here.
And Donnie, I don't think Donnie played particularly well there, but he didn't get punished for it.
Yeah, I don't agree with his plays towards the end of the game.
Absolutely. Alright, I'm gonna have to go for 1 second. I'm so sorry.
Alright. Do you know what's in their sideboards? Because I do not have list pulled up right now, so...
I can find the Atarka list, but I don't have Spirits list saved.
Okay, this game is over. This is an attack for 7, and C squared is dead. So... I might actually be able to find the lists on my phone. Hold on. What is happening here? The Monastery Swiftspear does in fact not have flying. Okay, GG. So we're moving on to game 2, and I will be fetching up the deck list. So in general, I think that being on the player definitely made the difference here. There was a change, so they were a turn apart.
Sorry. I found the Atarka list.
Okay, I'm pulling up the lists on my phone right now. So
Great.
But I was just saying that being on the play and being on the draw here. Oh, we don't have to talk about sideboarding yet. I forgot. This is a best of 5. This is a best of 5 match.
I wrote that rule. I should probably remember it. It's a little worried.
So I'm still gonna pull up the sideboards, but C squared is on the play here, and I think this should favor him immensely.
Yeah.
Spell Quellers become. He didn't have a 1-drop. I'm gonna ask for revealed hands. Reveal hands, please. Okay, so the Spell Quellers become a lot worse on the draw. And I also think that Donnie's hand here is looking a lot worse. This time the Dragonfather will not, so the Spellcaller will not be able to catch the Dragonfather. So even though he has no 1-drop, this is still going to be really scary for Thramin Inspector. So Inspector did lead off with a Mausoleum Wanderer, which is pretty decent. So in comes an attack for 2 by Inspector. I like that attack. Yeah, you probably don't want a 2-for-1 yourself on blocking the Smuggler Sculptor, so.
Stage of the game where you want to be chump blocking. I mean, you never want to be chump blocking, but you definitely don't have to here.
Yeah, and I mean, it wouldn't exactly be a chump block because it will trade with the Smuggler Sculptor, but I still don't think that's something that you want to do. But this opener here is gonna pose a lot of trouble for Inspector, I think. If this Atarka's command ever gets to, if the Atarka's command ever gets to do something, Inspector is dead. And on the same time, Inspector is also under that much pressure that he has to fire with the Spell Queller on whatever C squared decides to play next turn. And I think that C squared is immensely favored if he plays anything but the Atarka's command. And even if he plays the Atarka's command, he might still be in a good position.
The play, he's just so far ahead here. His clock is just too fast for Spirits really to compete with.
Yeah, this happens in the Unsol versus Atarka matchup a lot as well, and then the Unsol clock is still faster than this, so I don't imagine this ending up well.
Do you have a link to the Spirits list, by the way? I just want to have a quick go over that.
Okay, paste and go.
Find it. Never mind. I'm kind of an.
I'm streaming, so I can't exactly put up Discord right now.
I can do it.
Okay. If I could zoom out a bit. So we're looking at, imagine, so sorry for my terrible casting, but I'm looking up lists on my phone right now, so hold on. Let's see, that's not what we're looking for.
Just for a second, let's talk about C-Squared's choice of Goblin tokens. What do you think about that? I personally prefer the foil unstable Goblin tokens.
I've personally fallen in love with the new Phyrexia ones. I really like those, the skeleton goblins.
Those are definitely nice. Those are definitely nice. I've used those in the past as well. I think the unstable goblins have to take it for me. It's just like so fun.
Yeah, that's true. Um, I think Thraben Inspector probably has to attack her and hold up the spell queller, but he's not gonna attack. And
Actually,
I think that's a death
oh,
sentence.
fine.
I think that's a death sentence. If you're blocking the tokens here, you're just gonna die. So
It's kind of over here for this game. Let me find the spirit list. Spirit lists.
I'm looking for it. So I've got the squares list here, and we'll talk about the sideboard later. For now, let's focus on this game. So I think from C Squared's perspective, the spell queller here is pretty obvious, and the decision he has here is how does he want to play around that.
So you're leaving up 3 mana for unless you have like a ridiculous amount of 4-drops in hand.
Yes. So I don't think you can afford to attack with the Goblin token here, because the Mausoleum Wanderer will get pumped by the spell queller if you try to do anything. Although there's also the option of when blocks are declared, just say go. This is gonna get pretty intricate, I think. I think you can actually afford to attack with the Goblin token here if you play it smart. That land is definitely gonna get looted away.
He has no real need of a 5th.
And I think you can afford to attack with the Goblin token, because you're more than fine with the token trading for a Mausoleum Wanderer. And if he decides to queller before damage happens, you can always fire off the Atarka's command. And you'd be happy about that, or even fire off the Stoked Flames.
So far behind here. I don't think there's any coming back at this point.
No, especially if he didn't attack last turn. If C Squared was at 14 right now, this would be a whole different game. And this is an important thing. C Squared didn't play anything on his turn, essentially wasting 3 mana from Thraben Inspector. That was 3 mana he just didn't do anything with. And that's huge, especially because C Squared is ahead on board here. And in this scenario, he can just afford to not play a whole lot, because he is so far ahead.
Can't afford that, so C Squared is playing this very, very well.
Yeah. He did this against me too. It felt bad. So, the Hazard here isn't exactly great.
That's not gonna. I don't think that's gonna see the light of day all game. It might even just get looted away at first opportunity.
Like right now.
There it goes. There we go.
Although, I do think that from C Squared's perspective, he might have wanted to fire off a burn spell at Inspector's face at the end of the last turn.
It's possible, but I don't think that's going to come back to haunt him.
But I still think that he should have probably fired off the Stoked Flames. So Rattle Chains is gonna. Oh, my phone is almost dying. That's not a positive thing.
So that's okay. Should be fine. Unless you're never mind.
So we'll see what happens here. So this is at the end of turn. He's flashing in the Rattle Chains because he just can't afford to have to waste his mana even more. And in response,
now that the threat of Queller is gone, he's just gonna Stoke Face with nothing stopping him.
Yes.
Although, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So there's one problem here for C Squared. It's called Archangel Avacyn. And I mean, yeah, that's gonna be a problem, especially with the Thraben Inspector also on board.
Selfless Spirit.
So the Thraben Inspector, Selfless Spirit on board. This might give C Squared some trouble.
Decides to Dragon Fodder to try to draw out the
Wait,
here.
are you ahead on my screen? Because on your screen, because on my screen he hasn't cost anything yet. Are you thinking he might Dragon Fodder?
To try to bait out the Queller.
Yeah, I like that play, but I think that from Inspector's side, since you have the Avacyn in hand, you're not gonna fire off that Queller. I think
Just
that's.
from C squared side. If from C squared side, he might do that, and when Avacyn flips, he's going to be punished even harder by it.
Yeah. So what I think is gonna happen here is that. Do you know how many copies of Avacyn are in Inspector's list?
2 copies.
2 copies. So C squared is definitely thinking about Spell Queller, and I know that he's a good player, so he probably has Avacyn on his mind. But what would happen here if he, for example, decides to attack with everything is that the Avacyn will get flashed in, everything will get blocked. At the end of the second main phase, Thraben Inspector will pop the Selfless Spirit and just wipe all of C squared's board. And that would be terrible. And I think that's what we're seeing right now.
This is looking to be a pretty brutal turn for Donnie, and he might just steal this game, which C squared looked
so far ahead in. And then I think that the 4 damage to Thraben Inspector's face that he could have fired off earlier is gonna make a huge difference.
I predict he wouldn't get punished for it, but that might just be what we're seeing.
So I imagine the Avacyn is gonna jump in front of the copter. And
I would imagine so.
The Rattle Chains is gonna jump in front of the Swiffer, and that's not gonna end up well. He's gonna double block the Swiffer for good triple block it for good measure.
Case. I guess.
But I will also note that C squared is not that far away from just killing Thraben Inspector. He's got the Atarka's command in hand. That represents at least 3 damage. A damage from the Whisper and another burn spell, and the game is over.
So he's assigning the damage to the spirit. Donnie, I assume, just sacks it.
He has to.
Sacks it before damage. Yeah.
He's not going to? I mean, it doesn't matter if he does or not.
It has indestructible already.
Oh, yes, of course. I completely missed the fact that Avacyn is a good card.
It's even seeing play in Modern, I think.
Is it? I was
Stevens
watching...
has been messing around with it.
Yeah, I think I was watching... No, I was at F&M Friday night, and I saw it stuck in someone's hand who had 2 lands on the battlefield. And it didn't seem great to me, but...
But yeah, I've seen Todd Stevens messing around with it, and I know Todd Stevens messes around with a lot of things in his green-white decks, but I think Avacyn is a pretty good card.
Yes, I think so too. Especially if you combine it with Selfless Spirit.
And we'll see how Donnie chooses to play this, because C squared runs so much that this game is not in the bag for Donnie.
No,
so it's not locked up.
I think that's what's gonna happen here, is that he's actually gonna hold on sacking the Selfless Spirit. It's just 2 goblins. He doesn't have to. So we're in C squared's second main here. So, and there's an Avacyn on board, so he probably cannot fire off eating the Dragon Fodder nor this Whisper, and he's just gonna try to Atarka's command. He should actually... So I think that his only way back in this game is if this Whisper gets to connect and use the Atarka's command as well. So... yeah, he's not gonna do anything. 6 land run for Inspector. Not actually too bad. He can... So... oh, attacks are gonna happen first. He's gonna swing in for 6. C squared's gonna go down to 10, facing a lethal attack next turn. And I completely disagree with what Inspector was doing here. I think to be safe, you just wanna throw up the Siren Storm Tamer, the Storm Tamer for good measure, and then I don't think you can actually lose the game. Oh, I forgot that there was a Remnant Ruins on the field. That card's gonna deal 2 damage. Oh, and the Archangel has Vigilance too, which I forgot. And this game is in the book, and it's over. So I hope my host will come back momentarily, because that would mean that we can talk about sideboards. And I'm gonna be honest, I did not expect.
Like an idiot, I shut my Discord tab. I'm back now. I was just talking to myself for a minute there.
Okay, you're amazing. Anyway, and I did not think that Inspector would stand a chance in this game, from looking at the opening hands to how the first 3 turns played out. But
really, that shows the power of Avacyn.
This game is over. This game is completely over.
I don't think there's a single card in C2's deck that gets him out of this. I'm just going over the list right now.
No, not with the Spell Queller up as well. Did you close Discord again? Okay, so it seems like I'm alone again. Oh, wait. I forgot that everything I should pay attention to what cards are in play. I really should.
Yeah, C squared has an uphill battle here. He's going to have to win all 3 post-board games.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were still talking about this game, but he's just dead. Gonna play the Siren Storm, the Storm Tamer for good measure. And I think that now is a good time to start looking at sideboards.
Should we start with, we'll start with Donnie?
Sure. Tell me what's in the sideboard.
Alright, so he has 1 Dispel.
Which seems great.
1 Blessed Alliance.
Doesn't seem too great.
So I think here with the life gain, and he can also the sacrifice mode.
The sacrifice mode is pretty bad versus goblins, though.
Yeah, that's true.
And
but if you're getting something like a Hazaret or a Copter, you're pretty happy with that. And I think you might just want it for the life gain and the possible value from the other modes.
I guess. What else is in the sideboard?
Stone.
What?
Declaration in Stone.
That seems great. Deals with goblins pretty cleanly.
Me?
Your mic is bugging out, I think.
Negate.
They seems good.
2 Gideon ally of Zendikar.
That seems not good in this matchup.
Ojatai's command.
Wait, what did that do again? I don't think it's a good hair. It's the 4 mana one, right?
Return target creature with converted mana cost 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. You gain 4 life. Counter target creature spell, draw a card, and you get to pick 2 of those. Unless he has something that's really bad here, I don't think he wants that.
Yes, it can gain 4 life in a pinch, I suppose.
I think you'd rather just have the Blessed Alliance.
So I have a sideboard pulled out here. So you want to settle the wreckage, you want Declaration of Stone, you want the spell, you want Blessed Alliance, and you want Negate, I think. I think that's
what do
all
we think is coming out here?
That's all the cards that I would consider. So what cards are coming out?
Probably some Bygone Bishops. Those are, I think, for slower, grindier matchups.
The Nabelgeist Heralds. I think the Heralds are probably also coming out. They're just a tad too slow.
Probably Copter as well.
Yeah, I don't hate Copter here, I think.
Then, what do you think?
So, from looking at the deck list, I suddenly understand why this matchup can be quite alright, because there's a lot of cards that are pretty decent in this matchup.
I think Spell Queller is also just such a powerful card that it can swing games as well as
I
Arching
mean,
Glove to Avacyn.
I might shave on it in the post-board games. I might go down to 2 or 3 copies. But we're seeing 2 in Inspector's hand now, so... And...
Well, actually, let me just ask the players what their sideboard plans were, because that's a thing we can do since we're streaming.
Hey, we're smart. So, importantly, C-Squared did manage to hit his second land drop. He kept the 1-lander. And he also hit his third land drop. And this is gonna pose a lot of trouble, because this is a lot of damage coming in really quickly.
That's a pretty great start.
And Inspector is on virtually nothing, so we'll see what the sideboard plans were in a moment. But this is just 6 damage coming through Thraben Inspector's face right now. And that's a lot of damage.
Okay, so Donnie says he took out Cocoa value stuff and went control, and I'm asking him for specific cards right now. And obviously we see the Dispel there. Yeah. And so maybe he took out Collected Company, which just doesn't seem right to me.
I actually was about to say that Company is a pretty slow card in this matchup. It's a 4-mana card. And it might just be too good, but I also still see the Nebelgast Heralds in his deck, and I don't agree with that at all. I think that card is way too slow for this matchup.
That definitely comes out before Company, because Company is just such a high-value play that even when it's a little slow, it can get you so far ahead.
I mean, I think there's something that you want to consider, and that's if you're boarding in a lot of non-creature spells, the Company suddenly become a lot less good and a lot less consistent.
So he brought in Declaration in Stone, Blessed Alliance, and Dispel.
Declaration Stone, Blessed Alliance, and Dispel also settled the wreckage, I imagine.
He has not given me details on that.
Okay.
And I'm not going to ask him any further questions, because that could almost be outside assistance if I'm asking about specific cards that he might want to bring in and continuing games.
All right.
And I have a Discord ping. Let's see what that is.
Yeah, I got the ping as well, but I cannot see what that is. So.
Alright, so it's C-Squared DMing us his board plan.
Okay, tell me.
-3 Firecraft.
Makes sense. Furthermore?
Sorry?
-3 Firecraft, and then?
Red?
I mean, this is, in a vacuum, this is a decent spell queller, but it's way too slow.
Not doing enough.
This is another 5 damage coming in here. And so... Okay, he needs to hit... He needs to be able... If he wants to win this game, he needs to be able to play Avacyn. And... I am actually a big fan of this aerial responder because it can block the Smuggler's Copter together with the Spell Queller. Yeah, and you don't mind losing the Spell Queller here because you have the Avacyn in hand, and if you get to play that on this board, it's light out. So, again, Inspector might still be in this... Oh, wait, is he just dead here, actually? Hold on. No, he's not.
Have one more turn, so if he draws a land, he is live to save himself. I think.
He does need to find a way to get a creature to die, and C-Squared might just not give him that.
It all just depends on C-Squared not just drawing a burn spell and killing him.
Yes, true.
Board plan. He took out 3 Firecraft and 1 Hazaret in favor of 2 Harvester, an Abrade, and a Chain Whirler, which I think is a nice plan.
Yeah, the Chain Whirler seems pretty good. The Harvester lines up pretty well against all the flying things that Inspector has.
I was actually looking at Ferocidon as well, but I think not bring that in is fine. Because I don't think you want to change your deck too much on a linear strategy like Atarka.
So
Not
he's taking
linear,
how
but
much?
very basic.
4, 7. So he takes 5. And otherwise he'd be taking what, 2, 4, 6, 4. So this is a big problem here. So I think that Traven Inspector is dead. Yeah, now he's dead for sure because he doesn't have an untapped land. But even if he found untapped land, C-Squared could have just not given him a way to have a creature die because he could distribute damage. I think he can do that. Put 2 on the aerial responder, put 1 on the spell queller, and nothing dies and Avacyn won't flip, and then Inspector is dead. But
Squared sees that, and so this is just done.
Yeah, I mean,
And
Avacyn can't even come down because the Sanctum comes down tapped. So
like the least useful spell queller of all time.
wait, he might actually have a turn here because of the Herald. And I don't think that C-Squared can actually attack her.
Yeah. He has no real, not all the blocks that Inspector can make are favorable for him. So that's a nice play. We actually wanted him to board out those heralds, but
it's coming in clutch here.
It's coming in clutch, exactly.
Although it is definitely not as clutch as a Settle the Wreckage would have been. A Settle the Wreckage would have been.
Looks like he didn't actually bring those in, which is really bizarre to me.
A Settle the Wreckage just lights out there. I mean, I even have them in my End Soul sideboard, and that's an even faster deck. Just for this matchup. They're so good.
I don't
understand this at all. Because now there's an Avacyn, and I think C-Squared is dead again. There's the Dispel in Inspector's hand.
So, yeah, this could just be over. Let's see.
So, Avacyn is gonna get flashed in here. A lot of blocks are gonna be made. He has a Dispel for the Lightning Strike. And I think this might be a 3-0.
And
this is not
two of those games.
This is not how I expected this matchup to go.
It just shows that it's great.
And here's the Dispel. And I think we're about done. I don't think there's a way out for C-Squared, because he's gonna lose all his creatures here. He's not actually gonna lose all his creatures. He's gonna lose the Smuggler's... He's gonna lose the Smuggler's Copter here. He's gonna... is gonna go to 6.
This game, I thought a Stoke the Flames did it, but with that 2 life, it doesn't.
Even Atarka's command won't cut it here. This is... We're done. I'm gonna be honest, I was not too confident in the Spirits deck. I was looking at the 3-0 lists earlier in the season and I thought Bant Spirits made it to 3-0. That's interesting. And now I'm seeing why, because if all draws line up like this deck seems really good in a field that's full of Atarka Red and Atarka Red and even more Atarka Red. I mean, Hazoret is a good draw here, but there's a Smuggler's... there's a Spell Queller. And also C-Squared is just dead on the backswing. Yeah. We're done. We've got quite something to talk about here. Is my co-host still there? So we'll see if there's anything C squared can do. But I don't think so. I don't believe so. Even if he plays the Azure here, there's a spell queller. This is... On one hand, I am extremely confused by how this matchup just went, because on paper, this is just not a good matchup for Inspector. On the other hand, I am extremely excited about how this matchup went, because, well, let's say I'm not a fan of Atarka Red. It's not my style of deck, and I'm biased, and I want to see it lose, because that's the way I am. But, so, I'm hoping I can set up a quick interview with the winner of this match, so I'm gonna ping Thraben Inspector the moment this is over. So C squared is thinking really deep if there's a way out, and I don't see it. So and this is a lethal attack. This is an attack for exactly 10 points of damage. And we're done. So I'm gonna try and set up an interview with Inspector, and we'll talk a bit about the games, how they went, what he thought about it, what I thought about it. So I am then going to call Inspector.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, what's up?
So this was quite the match.
That's a pretty good one, not gonna lie.
Yeah, going into this, I thought you were dead as fuck. I thought you were extremely dead.
Yeah, this deck just provides sometimes.
I saw a really fast deck on C squared side, and I saw a bunch of 3 and 4 drops on your side. And I was watching the matches play out, and I was commentating on it, and we kept saying, well, Inspector must be deader. Game 2, we were looking at turn 3, and we thought, well, Inspector is probably just deader. And then you played the Archangel Everson, and then the game was over.
Yeah, that card really is the all-star of the deck. Like, no other card could do what that does.
Yes, I think I agree with that. We did have some questions about your sideboarding plan. Did you actually bring in Saddle the Wreckage?
Not on the draw. I think it's very... I tried to cut as many big drops as so.
That makes sense. I still think it's probably a really good card in the matchup, but... I mean...
Yeah, I switch off with that. Like, sometimes I'll bring it in, sometimes I won't. But because I was also expecting Goblin Chain Whirler on the sideboard. I believe that's what Goblin Chain Whirler, and Goblin Chain Whirler just straight out wreck.
Yes, it does. It does destroy your deck. There's a bunch of X1s in there. And even in the last game, you spell queller the Dragonfather on, I think it was turn 4. And we thought, well, yeah, in a vacuum that's a good play, but looking at the board...
Dragonfather really wasn't supposed to do much, but like I need to have a board presence.
Yeah, and so we thought, well, in a vacuum that's not a bad play, but you're probably dead, and then you didn't die. And the game was over incredibly quickly after that. A couple of swings from Everson, and you were on to the semifinals.
Yeah, the thing about this deck is turn 1 and 2 are always very sketchy. Like, unless you have like the turn 1 Siren, turn 2 Copter play, like I had game 1, just like it can be very clunky. But what you have to do mainly is play the dudes. Well, against this matchup specifically, play early dudes and just chump block. Eventually, take over the game with a payoff.
Okay. Yes. I'm still kind of confused, to be honest.
What I'm saying basically is,
Yes, I get what you're saying, but I just this is not how I expected the matchup to go. Not at all.
it is definitely a very poor matchup.
Yeah, and I think that this is probably the better version of the deck for you. I think if you're playing versus the version that has the Hordling outbursts, that's even faster. You're in more trouble.
Well, the thing about Hordling Uppers is I could outgrind that, but like Hazoret, if they land a Hazoret, most likely it's game.
Hmm. That's most likely game as well, I think. He actually had a Hazard in his hand at the end of the last match, but you had the quarter for it, and you had lethal on board. So, yeah. Well, good luck in the semifinals.
Thank
Very well
you.
played, and
I like to think so.
I'll see you later.
Yep. Have a good day.
So with that, I think I'm closing out the stream. We just saw the semifinals. It was pretty cool. Later.